Speaker, and I'm glad to stand and speak on this motion, and the motion put forward by the member from West Vancouver, that House support growing a diverse economy by getting yes on responsible resource development. Mr. Speaker, but it is a bit rich coming from a government who only up until recently put all of their economic eggs in one LNG basket. Finally, they realized that that approach has failed. It was designed to fail right from the beginning because no work was done. It was just a political decision made, and we see the results today. As a result of that, all of the other important, especially resource-based economies or resource-based sectors were neglected. Forestry, mining. And no wonder, Mr. Speaker, that the Premier is going to the member from West Vancouver, because if anybody has some credibility on that side of the House, I think that member has some because of his knowledge and background, and no wonder the Premier is going to that member. But that member should know better, and he does know better, because this government have been ignoring all of the other sectors for the last 3 years. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the forestry, we have lost 35,000 workers in forest industry last 15 years under the watch of this government. Over 200 sawmills, according to the government's own numbers, have been shut down. Mr. Speaker, how about saying yes to keeping our raw logs, 7 million cubic meters of them in British Columbia, and process them here in British Columbia, Mr. Speaker, on the coast to create jobs for British Columbians, for British Columbia's benefits, Mr. Speaker. 7 million in 2013, 5.5 million last year. Almost half of the coastal harvesting level have been exported, Mr. Speaker. In the meantime, we have mills who are not running at full capacity or are shut down. How about saying yes to those workers? How about saying yes to our industry who built this province, Mr. Speaker, and bring them back from almost to the ruins? How about saying yes to encouraging our British Columbian forest companies who are investing at a record level across the border, Mr. Speaker, under the watch of this government? 40 sawmills have been purchased by British Columbian companies, Canfor, Interfor, and West Fraser, Mr. Speaker. Those are the records of this government because this government ignored forest industry. As a result, we have thousands of fewer people working in the forest industry. Hundreds of mills have been shut down, Mr. Speaker, and a record amount of raw logs have been exported. How about saying yes to our forest industry, which this government have been ignoring? How about, Mr. Speaker, saying yes to our mining industry? 18 mines have been shut down, Mr. Speaker, under their watch. They only talk about mines that have been opened. 18 have been shut down, or they are on a maintenance and care mode, Mr. Speaker. And how about saying yes to BC workers? For example, during the HD mining, Mr. Speaker, at that time when the company came in, but they were also allowed to bring their own workers from overseas, and this government said no to BC workers who were laid off and fully qualified to work and take on those jobs, Mr. Speaker. And how about, Mr. Speaker, saying yes to building public transportation expansion south of the Fraser and along the Broadway corridor, Mr. Speaker, rather than hiding behind referendum, making political decisions year after year after year, Mr. Speaker? How about saying yes to those projects, Mr. Speaker? And you know, Mr. Speaker, how about saying yes to building schools in Surrey? We could use 10 of them today. If this government say yes to that today, we start building those schools today, 10 of them, so that we could accommodate and bring all those students who are in portables right now, Mr. Speaker. That's where we need to say yes. Mr. Speaker, how about saying yes to bringing people together? People who have diverse opinions, people who have different directions and different suggestions of how do we grow our economy, Mr. Speaker. How about bringing them together and respect those opinions and act on decisions that are best opinions collected by bringing people together, rather than those who differ from the Premier's vision, call them rag, tag, and forces of no, Mr. Speaker. How about that? Wouldn't that be a good way to bring people together and build this province? And how would, Mr. Speaker, we build...
Thank you, member.
Thank you so much. Time ran out.